Hey everyone, this is Bill Laddick. I wanted to tell you about a scheduling application I put together called Scheduling-123. And the screen kind of illustrates its primary purpose for a small business, 100 or less employees, multiple locations, in this case a restaurant, 4 different restaurants, trying to figure out who's going to be where on each day and what role they're going to play. And each of the staff has, as any person has, scheduling restrictions. They can't be at a certain place or at a certain time just because of their personal issues, or they have a vacation schedule. And so this application tries to take that all into account and give you a complete schedule for whatever length of time you want, 1 month, 2 months out, 6 months out, so on. Another way to use this application is to schedule teams or players in sporting events. So this could be a league that you have, like a baseball league that might have 15 different teams, and you're trying to schedule everybody to play everybody else in sort of a round robin or a double round robin home and away format. So this application takes care of that as well. It's not limited to small businesses with employees or sports teams, leagues, and tournaments and so on. It really can schedule anything, and we'll get into that on the upcoming slides here. So we try to follow what I've termed a who, what, where, when, why approach. And this next set of slides are just going to kind of illustrate that approach. So the who's, there can be up to 100 who's. Normally these are people, but as I said, it could be teams, could be equipment, could be anything that you decide are things that you want to get scheduled. What, there's generally one what, it's generally a verb of what's the context related to here. So if there are employees that are going to be working, for example, restaurant employees might be serving, uh, teams will be playing or competing. You get the idea there. The where is, where is this going to happen? There could be up to 20 different wheres. Restaurants, for example, I illustrated an example with 4, you could have 20. Office locations, you could have up to 20 offices. Sports teams would be playing on venues or fields. Okay, so just anything you want to call a where location. When are the time periods? There can be up to 10 of them. I've kind of illustrated them as a circle or a clock, if you will, and there could be multiples illustrated by the colors here. So there could be 2 different shifts of employees doing work at a particular location. There could be 2 or 3 different game times on a particular field. You got to get creative here. You can use the when to be anything. Maybe in your business, people work in a morning paradigm versus an afternoon versus an evening. It's just a time period. You're just going to attach a start time and a duration, and there could be up to 10 of them. And this will become clearer in the upcoming slides. And then finally, a why. Why is this person or team being asked to be at this location at this time? And it's generally, if you're an employee small business thing, they have a role to play. They are a waitress or they are a cook. Um, they are maybe just a regular staff employee or a manager. Maybe they're a team lead or a technician. Um, in terms of teams, one team's going to be the home team, the other team's going to be the away team. You could be an umpire or a referee. This is why you as a person or you as a team are being asked to be scheduled at this location and at this time. So hopefully that's clear. Okay, so what's the goal? It's kind of to fill out this sheet that you see in front of you for each day that you want in your schedule. And I show 3 days here, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but this could be hundreds of days. It could go on for months. And this application is trying to fill out this slot, the who column on this slot, assigning an employee, the right employee who's available on each of these shifts in each of these restaurants to fulfill each of these roles, whether they're a waitress or a chef or a manager and so on, to fill this out every day of the week for weeks and weeks on end. That's the goal of this application. All right, so let's take you through step by step. You start in the application with step one, and you define your where location. So we've illustrated a map of the city, and maybe there's 5 restaurants or 5 offices. You're going to give those names. This is where the what takes place. So people who are working, where do they work? At these 5 places. People who are competing as teams, where do they compete? These 5 fields, for example. Step 2, we're going to match the whens to each where. So employees in an office are going to be working on shifts probably. First shift, second shift, third shift. Some of the offices, some of the wheres are going to have all 3 shifts. Some are just going to have 1 shift. Some are going to have 2 shifts. You get the idea. You can be creative here. Sports teams that are playing on different fields across the city. Each field may have a start time of 9 a.m. and then 11 a.m. and then 1 p.m. Or maybe there's just one time per day. You get creative. Okay, so step 3, we're going to define the whys. And we're going to assign the mixture of whys to each of the different locations. So on the left, you see 4 different whys. Again, we're in an employees working in an office environment. So we have most of our employees are just going to be general staff. Some are going to be called managers. Some will be technicians. Some will be team leads. And there could be a few of them that are a combination of each of those. So in this case, the upper left location, we needed on the orange shift 5 staff. On the blue shift, we need 4 staff, 2 managers, and 1 team lead. On the orange shift, the dark orange shift, we need 1 technician and 3 staff. If you go down to the lower right, you can see again 4 shifts at that location. We threw examples. We need 1 team lead here, we need 2 managers there, and so on. So you're going to sprinkle the mixture of whys or types of people that are needed at each location on each shift. Okay, step 4, we're going to record which whys each of the who has. Okay, so the who's, these are employees, there may be 100 of them. And each one by name, in this case we're showing 8 different who's, we're going to tell the application what roles can this person play. So number 1 has a blue staff stripe and a purple manager stripe. So that person can fill a role of either a staff employee or a manager employee. Number 2 has 3 different stripes. They can fill a staff role, a team lead role, or a manager role. Number 3 is strictly a manager. So whenever a manager is called for, that person could fill that slot. But they could not fill a staff slot or any other team lead or technician slot. Number 4 is a blue stripe. They can only fill a staff role. 5, only a manager. 6, staff and a technician role. 7, superstar employee can fill any of the 4 roles. And 8, only a staff role. Okay, so you're just going through your list of employees, and you're going to give them all names. You're not going to just work by numbers. And you're going to tell the application which of the whys can this person fulfill. All right, step 5, we're going to create exceptions. Every employee has scheduling restrictions. They can only work in certain locations, they can only work at certain times, or they can never work in certain locations or never work on certain times. The same for dates. Maybe they have vacations scheduled in August. Maybe they can't work on Fridays or Wednesdays for whatever personal reasons. You record all this in the application, and it's going to take that into account when it figures out where they're going to be assigned. So number 1 in this picture has no restrictions. Number 2 cannot work at the gray office, as an example. Number 3 cannot work at the blue office. Number 4 can only work at the yellow office. Number 5 can't work at the green office, nor can they work on either of the 2 shifts, orange or blue. Okay, and number 6 can only work on the blue shift at whatever office. So those are just examples of recording certain restrictions by employee type. Okay, number 6. So this is where the power of the tool steps in. So it's going to match an appropriate person with each of the work slots that we define. Remember that page of who's that we were trying to fill out in the very beginning. We're going to go through all 100 people. We're going to look at their roles that they can fulfill and their scheduling restrictions. And then we're going to match them up with each of the offices that we defined, the work shifts that we define, and the type of people that need to be present on each of those work shifts. So in the upper left here, we see that blue office, the bright orange work shift. We needed 5 staff. Okay, well, we're going to assign employee number 8. Why? Because they have the staff role and they have no restrictions in regard to working at that blue office or that orange shift. Okay. In that same office, the blue office up there on the left, we need 1 technician for the dark orange shift. Well, we're going to pick employee number 7. Since they are multi-talented, they can fulfill that technician role. They had no restrictions related to that blue office or that orange shift or this day that we're scheduling, and so we assigned employee number 7. And you can go around the board and see where we've picked certain employees. We've only chosen 8 in this example, but remember we're fulfilling hundreds of work slots, so we're going to use up a lot of our staff of 100 here to fill out this day. And then this picture here is going to be repeated every day of the week for weeks and weeks and weeks. So we're trying to assign a lot of employees all over the place and take into account all their scheduling restrictions. So hopefully you're intrigued by now, and this slide is telling you how to get this tool. So first of all, it's written in Microsoft Excel. It doesn't mean you need to know Excel to any extent, just casually. And I wrote it to learn about the latest features of Microsoft 365 that has dynamic rays and a bunch of new formulas. And so that's the version it's based off of. So first of all, if you don't have that version installed locally, you can go to this first link and it will fire up an online web-based version of Excel with this application loaded. And you can get a good feel for what it looks like and interact with it and enter some of the inputs, and it'll regenerate a schedule and so on, but it's kind of limited in functionality. It's really meant just for you to take a look, see how it looks and feels and operates. You can't do certain things like export the data or save what you've done. It's just a run it and forget about it kind of approach there. So if you do have Microsoft 365 installed, then it would have the Office 365 version of Excel. Then you can download the program, the spreadsheet, and it comes in a zip file. And in that zip file is the Excel file and the PDF documentation. And the fourth link there just shows you that you can get to the PDF documentation directly through a web browser. You can go to that link there. It's pretty extensive documentation, a lot of screenshots and so on. You could pretty much just look at that without running the tool to get a good feel for it. And then finally, excuse me, a sway that I created that kind of introduces you to the tool. It's kind of an advertisement to get you started understanding what the tool is all about.